Hi, friends. I know today is a day when a lot of you might be asking questions or holding important questions in your heart about what's going on in our world and what's going on in our city of Boston and in other cities around this country. And I'm holding a lot of questions too, and I'm reading a lot today. And so today I want to share with you a couple of resources from some books that we're going to share together, and also some songs and ideas for helping us to think through some of those questions, knowing that they won't have easy answers, but that the learning process and the sharing process with our friends and our families is really important. So last week we read this book together. This is a book called Magic Trash, and it's about Tyree Guyton, who worked together with people in his neighborhood to create art out of trash and out of buildings in a neighborhood that was not being very well taken care of. And there was a page in this story that we stopped and talked about. I'm going to show you that page. So on this page it says, at age 12, Tyree squinted into spiraling smoke as National Guard tanks rolled down nearby Mount Elliott Street. All his life, neighbors had raced out of town to live in new suburbs. Some who had stayed exploded in rage like shaken bottles of Verner's ginger ale. Tyree gawked, teeth chattering. Rioters were burning buildings in his neighborhood. Now, when we read that book, we thought and wondered a little bit about why that might be happening. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here. But first, I want to show you some pictures and some words by a writer named Inosanto Nagara. He's written a book called A is for Activist, and some of his images and words are helpful in understanding what we're hearing about when people are talking about protests, when people are talking about marches, and also when people are talking about this idea of riots. So I'm going to show that to you now. First of all, Inosanto says, A is for activist, advocate, abolitionist, ally, actively answering a call to action. Are you an activist? Now, an advocate is someone who stands up for what they believe in, and an ally is someone who stands with someone who's not being treated fairly, even if the problem isn't affecting them. He says, P is for Peace March, protest, power to the people. Yeah. You might have seen images like this of people, and maybe or maybe not penguins, standing together. He says N is for no, yes to what we want, and no to what must go. No. He says M is for megaphones marching, movimiento music, hip hip hooray, it must be May Day. I like these images because they show all different ways of protesting, from making signs to making music to dancing, and they're all showing people coming together, advocating for what they think is right and against what they think is wrong. He writes, Q is for question, questioning coercion, querying qualities, counter false assertions. Questions are so important. All of the questions that you might be asking or feeling are part of how we learn and part of how we make a difference in our world and make things better. So keep asking questions. He also says, R. Radical Reds, the headline said. Ruinous rioters, the rumors spread. Rabble-rousing riffraff. Really? And I can see that the picture he is showing is of people, thousands and thousands of people, marching together in a very peaceful way. So let's talk a little bit about what was happening here in the story when Tyree Guyton observed riots. and what those riots and other riots that you might have heard of have to do with. We're talking about racism, but we're not only talking about the kind of racism that is about one person being mean to another person, or even one person being hurtful to another person. We're talking about something called structural racism. Structural racism recognizes that systems around us are not built to treat people fairly. So it's not just about how one person is behaving toward another. It's about how the rules and the systems and the ways things work don't treat everybody fairly. Some examples that were happening in Tyree's neighborhood were that people were only able to live in certain neighborhoods because the banks would only lend money to Black and brown people to live in certain places and not others. Those same neighborhoods are often ones that don't have healthy places to buy food. Structural racism also happens when schools in towns with lots of white people have plenty of money, while schools in neighborhoods with lots of Black and brown people don't have enough money for everything they need. Structural racism happens when cities don't take care of neighborhoods where Black and brown people are living, letting garbage pile up, spending more money on police than on schools and safe places to live. And a big example that lots of people are talking about are when the cities and the government don't hold police responsible when they hurt or when they kill Black or brown people. So the protests and the riots that we might be hearing about, that Dino Santos' book talks about, that Tyree Guyton's story talks about, come back to that idea that Tyree talks about of a shaken bottle of Verner's ginger ale. All of those pieces, all of those elements of structural racism, all those ways that the systems are not treating people fairly, are part of what shakes that bottle up. And then people respond in all different ways. So I want to share with you a story that I'm reading today in thinking about what racism is and how racism impacts different communities in different ways. And this is a story that is really about a white person starting to understand racism. So if you are not a white person and if you have lots of knowledge and lots of experience about racism, this might not be the story for you. But for us who are white, we often have a lot of catching up to do in learning about what racism is, because whiteness can make it so that even though we are living around racism and experiencing racism in our lives, whiteness makes it hard to see. It's almost like a fish swimming in water who can't see the water and doesn't know what water is because it's everything that's all around them. So if you feel like this story is for you, please listen on. And if you feel like this story is not for you, it's okay to skip right ahead to the next part.
Not My Idea, a book about whiteness, written and illustrated by Anastasia Higginbotham. When grown-ups try to hide scary things from kids, oh no, not again. What? Mom, what not again? It's usually because they're scared too. Who is that with their hands up? Why is that policeman screaming at him? They want to bury the truth. You don't need to worry about this. You're safe. Understand? No. Our family is kind to everyone. We don't see color. Deep down, we all know. Color matters. Skin color makes a difference in how the world sees you and in how you see the world. I want to bring my aunt a gift. This will only take a minute. It makes a difference in how much trouble seems to find you or let you be. I'm noticing that these two kids are doing just about the same thing, but which one is the security guard noticing? In stores, in cars, on sidewalks, at school. Your skin color affects the most ordinary daily experiences, including which neighborhoods welcome you. I'm so relieved you got here safely. Why wouldn't we? The protests. They're blocking the road. Marchers came to demand justice for the unarmed African American. They demand an end to killings across the nation, part of a shameful pattern that has claimed the lives of particularly of young men of color. Marchers referenced past victims and a video taken by a bystander. You may get the message that racism is happening only to Black and brown people. It says, breaking news. Family speaks out on police shootings. Racism is a white person's problem, and we are all caught up in it. I can't watch the news. That police officer was just doing his job, mostly by refusing to look at it. Come away from the TV now. Look, I made your favorite. But you can face this. Racial justice, we must step up. Understanding the truth takes courage, especially a painful truth about your own people, your own family. Are you all right? Even people you love may behave in ways that show they think they are the good ones. I'm noticing that she's locking the car door as she's driving through a neighborhood where Black people are walking on the sidewalk. Racism was not your idea. You don't need to defend it. You can bring your curiosity to learn about it and see that it's true. I'll be over here if you need me, okay? Let's see, this book is called Our Shared History. It says, in the United States of America, white people have committed outrageous crimes against Black people for 400 years. All along, every step of the way, people who love justice and love each other have been fighting back. Many white people did things they never should have done. Denied opportunity. This says bank loan denied. That means people don't have access to money to do things like buy a house. Denied housing. Notice of eviction means people are getting kicked out of the home that they rent. Denied voting rights. That means that people aren't allowed to vote, even though every adult in this country is supposed to be allowed to vote. Many other white people failed to see the problem with this. Exploited the love and labor of Black women. She's saying, yes, ma'am. These choices put wealth and power into white hands and homes and neighborhoods. Some white people joined the leaders of Black liberation. Here it says liberation equals love plus freedom. Let's see. These are pictures of Angelina Grimke and Sarah Grimke, who were abolitionists fighting against slavery, suffragists fighting for voting rights, and they were sisters, and they were white. This is Julian Bond and members of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in 1963 fighting for civil rights. And here's Nina Simone, a musician and activist. Here are nuns and fellow marchers on the Selma to Montgomery March in 1965. They were also fighting for voting rights. John Lewis and fellow demonstrators kneel in 1962, and Colin Kaepernick kneels in 2017. Racism is still happening. It keeps changing and keeps being the same. And yet, just being here, alive in this moment, you have a chance to care about this, to connect. But connecting means opening, and opening sometimes feels like breaking. Our car's parked over here, love. I know this broken-hearted feeling. Mom, I don't feel good. Uh-oh, should I pull over? I need to know what's going on. What are you talking about? Why didn't anyone teach me real history? I do see color. I see yours and mine and everybody's. You can't hide what's right in front of me. I know that what that police officer did was wrong. Go with your instincts on this one. Racial justice is possible. Okay, geez, you don't have to yell. But only if we're honest with each other and ourselves. I see a playground over there. Want to get some fresh air? Yes. Your history's not all written yet. What do you want to say?
My favorite part of that story is the part where it says, racism was not your idea. You don't need to defend it. At the end of the story, the author tells us, your history is not all written yet. We're just in the middle of our lives, and we get to decide what actions we take and how we affect the rest of the world. And she asks us, what do you want it to say? And that makes me think about, what do you want to say? What do you want to say about what's important to you and what's important to your family, about what you believe is right? And there's so many different ways to do that. Conley students, you have participated in protests before. You created posters and signs and chants about climate change and about how people and the government should take action to protect the planet. Other Conley students have protested in support of Black Lives Matter when there was graffiti that was hurtful and cruel to students in another Boston public school. And there are so many other ways for you, when you feel the need to do something, to take action. You can use chalk on your sidewalk to spread a message that you think is important. You can make posters and hang them in your windows and outside. You could create a protest with your toys and even make a video of it to show to other people. Kids' voices really do matter, and it's important for you to feel your power and know your power. So there are lots of different ways for you to stand up and do something. When I was a teenager, just a little older than you, I think I started when I was about 14 years old, I was really upset and really concerned about a war that was going on that I thought was wrong. And so I did a lot of work with protesting and working with other young people to raise our voices. And I'm going to share with you a song that we used to sing. And the reason I'm sharing this song with you is because this is a song that you get to write based on what you feel and what you would like to do. It goes like this. The first part you need to know is that it has a clap to it. Repeat after me. Do that one more time. Nice. So you're already making some noise. Let's add the song into it. I know what I'll do. I know what I'll do till freedom comes. I'll fight for what is right. I'll fight for what is right till freedom comes. I know what I'll do. I know what I'll do till freedom comes. I'll sing for what is right. I'll sing for what is right till freedom comes. Now's the part where you get to write the song based on what you will do, what you would like to do. What do you think we should do? I think that's a great idea. We could dance, we could draw, we could build, we could talk. Let's sing. I know what I'll do. I'll know what I'll do till freedom comes. I'll dance for what is right. I know, I know, I know what I'll do. I know what I'll do till freedom comes. I'll march, I'll march, I'll march for what is right. I'll march for what is right till freedom comes. I know, I know, I know what I'll do. I know what I'll do till freedom comes. I'll fight, I'll fight, I'll fight for what is right. I'll fight for what is right till freedom comes. When we read about and learn about and start to think about things like structural racism, it makes all kinds of feelings happen, from sadness to anger to confusion to even saying things like, that can't possibly be true. I've never seen that. But just because I haven't seen something doesn't mean someone else experiencing it isn't telling the truth. And it's okay to have all those feelings and more, and to hold on to them and to share them with others and to find someone to talk to about them. I find it also really important sometimes to find something to do when I have those kinds of emotions. Some way where I can take some action, be a helper, put all of those feelings into a place where they might be able to start to make a difference. Attached to this video, I'm providing you with some ideas for other ways that you can have powerful conversations and take some action and show the power that you have as young people, along with other kids all over the country who are doing similar things. This is not the end of the story, but I'm going to end this video by saying to you the same thing that I'm saying to my family and to my friends, which is that we can talk about racism and we can ask really big and important questions and learn new things, and we can do something to take care of each other and our friends and our neighbors and our communities. Sending so much love to all of you wherever you are, and I'll see you soon.